Welcome to the Mounting Block. I'm Oriel.
And I'm Marissa.
We're here to inspire each other and, of course, you, our listeners, as we navigate the wild ride of rediscovering our love for horses while juggling work, kids, businesses, and a million other things.
From tackling fears to finding time in between school drop-offs, spilt snacks, business meetings, and marriage, we're here to share the laughs, the lessons, and the occasional mishap in the saddle.
So grab a coffee, a wine, maybe even a lead rope if you're game, and join us for honest, uninterrupted conversations, a bit of mum life mayhem, and a whole lot of encouragement.
This is a Mounting Block. Let's get a leg over and join us for the ride. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hope you've had a good week.
Yes, we've had an interesting week, haven't we, Oriel?
Oh, we have. We've been shopping.
We've been horse shopping for me.
We have, yes.
Yes.
Because you might remember last week we talked about the fact that beautiful Hickatie's gone back to the farm.
Yes.
So
and, geez, she taught me a lot because of, oh, gosh.
you realise how good she is.
I realised it at the time as well.
Yeah, you did.
I really did. But yeah, it's very good to know what I can tolerate and what I can't. And what I have realised I can't tolerate is when I ask a horse to canter, it starts bucking.
Oh, gosh. Now, you've just had some experience of that.
Yes, exactly.
Do you think we should put that on our socials, the video?
Oh, yeah, we should. We'll do a little short snippet.
I did take a video.
You did. You caught it on video at the moment this horse decided to turn into a bucking bronco. And
he went, no thanks.
Yeah, that's not ideal. I don't want a horse that does that the first time I go to canter.
No.
So he was a no. And then the week before I'd ridden another one who I couldn't concentrate on my riding because this horse was pulling so much in the mouth and carrying on that much. So we're off to another one on the weekend.
On Sunday.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yes, it's
but
hard.
Being cautiously optimistic is probably the best way to explain it because there are so many amazing people in the horse world, but there are also some not so great, honest people in the horse world.
And I think that's like any industry.
In the world in general.
Yeah.
Yes. So the search continues.
And as you said before, it's sort of like as you talked to Rebel about, sort of like online dating.
Online dating,
but you don't know what's true in the ad and what's not.
Yes. Yes, because every horse is perfect.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to the ads.
Yes.
And then when they do put in a little work or a little vice, it's sort of downplayed.
Yes.
But then you really have to read between the lines in that.
You do.
Anyway, we carry on. I had a little moment this week where I was like, Oriel, this is really sad and I'm really not happy about this and I'm missing it. But
it's hard.
Yeah,
it is hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
But the lovely Will from Equine on the Move did say, both to you and to me, she said you've kind of got yourself stuck in a bit of a corner because the horse that you had, i.e. Hikatie, was so amazing.
Yeah.
Your not your
Threshold?
expectations, but what you want is at her level. And it's hard to find.
It's really hard to find that. It is really hard to find that. We are finding out.
Yeah.
But
you've been on a bucking bronco.
Bucking bronco, which to be fair, was really good for my confidence. I did get really, really drunk that night, and I don't know if that was because I was like, hey, I survived a bucking bronco. I'm living my life. But it was really good for my confidence because it didn't rattle me as much as what I would have thought it would have.
Well, you pulled him up so well.
Pulled him up. Well, I did get off him because I was like, well, I'm not. And then you got on him
I
after. Which was very brave, and you did canter him, and he did think about bucking on you, but he didn't.
Yes.
So I think you had him in a nice tight circle to keep him under control.
Yes.
I was probably a bit more like cavalier with it.
Woo, let's go across the paddock.
Let's go. And he was like, So yeah, it's all very eventful, and I think I mentioned to you as I was driving home, I was like, this is some genuine risk-taking activity that I am doing.
Yes.
Going and riding completely
random
unknown horses and trusting people explicitly with my life.
Yeah. Literally.
Literally. So that's something to work through.
Yeah. Well, again.
But I just have to. If I want it bad enough, I just have to, don't I?
Yeah. Yep. And we both want it bad enough.
We do. I know we do. Yeah. And we've got all the things.
And we've got all the things, and we've got a lot of people looking out for you now.
I do. Yeah. I'm so grateful for this amazing little horse community that we've got and that we've developed over the last 18 months. There's a lot of people in our corner, which is yeah, it's really comforting, and there's lots of opinions and lots of experiences that people are drawing on and telling me about. So I think that's all. Yeah, it's really, really great. But anyway, so we'll keep you posted how this weekend goes. And
do you know, it's another reason, what you were just saying then, it's another reason, you know, we started this podcast to talk to you guys, between us, about, you know, carving out time for yourself.
Yes.
And it's just another beautiful benefit of what we've done, isn't it?
It
Like
is.
carved out that time for ourselves, but we've found a new community.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and if you're running and you join a running group, or crocheting and join a crochet, whatever it might be.
Yes.
It is another lovely sort of entry
and more friends and more people to do things with. And I think, you're absolutely right. It's a huge benefit of it.
Yeah.
And so today I was your strapper, which is an actual official horse term.
Yes.
It's not me being something else. Your strapper
you weren't my slapper.
No. Your slapper. I was your strapper. As we went off to your lesson.
And I rode a bucking bronco too.
You rode a bucking bronco too.
Well, it wasn't really a buck. It was just a few little pig roots. But
what's the difference?
Well, the buck is like a proper sort of buck. The pig root is just sort of head down and a little bit of a.
Okay.
That's a very scientific explanation of the difference. One is bigger than the other.
Well, he did two of them.
Yes, he did.
He did go forward and back and forward and back, and then almost tried to get out of the arena. And I was like, is he going to leave the arena? What's happening here?
And where's she going to be? Is she going with him or is she staying?
Yes. You rode it really well. And then you had to kick him back into canter because it was as you asked him to canter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why do they do this at this high level of velocity? They don't just pig root in a walk. It's a pig root at speed.
No, they did. No, he did. And
he did really well.
It's actually the first time he's done that in an arena.
Yeah. So how did that make you feel afterwards? Were you a bit more hesitant?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. But I had Lisa, and remember we spoke to Lisa Coffey on this podcast, but I had her voice in my head because she was in the arena when he didn't pig root, but he did a tail tuck number of months ago now, probably 6 months ago now. So he tucked his tail and he raced across the arena. And she'd said to me at the time, keep cantering, don't stop. Because if you stop, they go, oh, I've just found out something I can do that means I don't have to work hard anymore. And so I had her voice in my head going, don't stop. So as much as I just wanted to stop, I was like, no, I've got to keep going. You know, so I did, I think it was sort of automatic, pulled him up a little bit and he went into a trot and I pushed him straight back into a canter.
Yes.
And then we cantered.
Oh my gosh, you did so much cantering. You guys would not believe. I was almost getting dizzy watching you go around and canter in circles.
It was hard work.
Yeah. And at one point I was talking to another lady and I was like, I'm really sorry, I've got to excuse myself and take Oriel some water because you looked so worked, like you had worked so hard.
It was tough. It was a tough lesson today. It was a tough lesson today, but it reminded me how much I don't know.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh, God. And you just think you're climbing up and you're climbing up and then it's like, oh, God.
I know.
I thought I was better than this.
I mean, from where I was standing, it was the best I had ever seen you and Lainey look in a canter.
This is what friends are for.
Well, I know I'm a good friend, but I'm also truthful. I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it. And he was collected and he was doing this long, beautiful, like, canter, but it wasn't like him. He can be quite heavy in the hooves. I think to explain it well, he can canter, but it feels like he's sort of like heavy with it. I guess that's you know. And then all of a sudden he was light on his feet, and you were just steaming down the arena, and it looked amazing. So I was giving you 10 out of 10. Yeah, I just didn't get that part on video. I was too busy being like, they look amazing.
Otherwise we could have had 2 bucking broncos on video.
We could have. I'm so upset. I had just stopped recording you just before the bucking happened.
I'm just lucky that we both decided not to do ever rodeo.
Oh my gosh, no way, Jose. No. That's just never happening.
But we are excited to have a beautiful guest on today.
Yes, someone who we've spoken to before, Fiona Spence.
Yes.
And Fiona is, well, the last time we spoke to Fiona was about her life coaching and the different techniques she uses to work with her clients, and a bit of hypnosis and all those sorts of things.
Yeah. And she's going to talk to us today about trauma.
About trauma.
We've all had trauma over our lives. I don't know
Yeah.
anybody that could say they've never had any trauma. But it's not
Yes.
just about the trauma itself, it's about how you carry it with you over life, and even if it's trauma from childhood, how that makes you behave.
Yeah.
As you're growing older, it could be trauma that happened last week and how that's going to influence your behavior going forward. So it's about learning how to deal with that.
Yeah, it'll be so interesting. And I think with all these people who we're talking to with all different places across the world in their life and their specialties and their expertise,
Yeah.
I find it so interesting to understand like more about human behavior and how complex we are.
Yes.
And the things that we carry that we don't possibly realize
that
we carry.
we're carrying, but it makes us behave in a certain way.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of the trauma specialist,
speaking of trauma, we were just talking about you, Fiona. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Fiona.
My pleasure.
How are you?
Fantastic. Really good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Always.
We're very happy you're here, and you look beautiful today. Love the pink.
Thank you. I chose this thing just for you guys because I thought you'd appreciate it.
We absolutely do.
We do. We love it. We love it.
Gorgeous.
So, Fiona, when we had a quick chat earlier on, you obviously, with your life coaching business, you deal mostly with adults. But when we started talking about trauma, you sort of started saying sometimes the trauma happens in childhood, but it only comes out when you're an adult. Or it comes out, obviously, as you're growing older, but, the issues that you have to deal with are now as an adult.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I was giving a talk recently, and it was specifically for My Spirited Child, which is an organization that supports people with ADHD or family members with ADHD or who work with people who have ADHD and just sort of want to know more and be informed. And so I was talking to them about how as a child with ADHD, you can have many experiences that are not comfortable ones. And over time, when they're repeated again and again and again, we get what we call this micro trauma. So it's lots of little traumas. And, individually, if you're told off because you're interrupting the class constantly, you're not focused, you're rushing your work or whatever it is, right, that you might be being told off for. Once is fine, right? We all get told off once in a while for like, oopsie, I was late today. But if you have that consistently, you start to get messages about yourself. And what happens is your subconscious goes onto high alert. So you start getting worried every time you walk in a room, you're scanning for dangers. What have I done wrong? Who's going to tell me off? What am I going to be called out for? And so that doesn't just happen to kids with ADHD. That can happen to anybody.
Anyone.
We all have our own unique way of being, and we don't always fit into the environment that we're in. We can't always understand as children, what the adults need from us. And sometimes we're trying to give it, but it's not in the way that they want it. And so for many people, these little micro traumas as a child lead to them being on this hyper vigilant, high alert state. And so later on, when you're driving along and you see a police car, and rather than just going, oh, that's nice, the police are out, how lovely is it, right? You're going, oh my God, I'm going to be pulled over. Oh, I better check my speed. What am I doing wrong? And, or if your boss says, hey, I just need a chat, can you just pop in my office? Rather than going, oh, how interesting, I wonder what it is. You go straight on to, oh my God, I'm in trouble. What have I done wrong? Was it the report? Was it when I spoke to so-and-so? Somebody complained, and all these racing thoughts come into your head. And you don't think, oh, well, as a child, experienced all these little things. Oh, that must be what it is.
Yeah. So
interesting.
How do you, I mean,
I've had all of those things. I'm ticking all those boxes.
Ticking all the boxes?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have gotten in trouble as a child, would you?
I don't think I did.
We did talk about Marissa's childhood in an earlier episode. And she was not a troublemaker.
No, I mean, I think my mum would say I was pretty good, but it's interesting what you say about even if the learned behavior may not have been as a kid, but even in a workplace. So like your point to going into a meeting with a boss, I had a very, very terrible boss in my early or mid 20s who had me on absolute high alert, like one of those people that just exudes really like a temper and you never knew which one you were going to get, one of those sorts of people.
Yeah.
And still to this day, if somebody says, oh, like as some sort of authority, we're just talking, I start feeling anxiety about it, even though logically I know these people are calm, lovely people and we can have a very normal conversation. But there was a couple of years there where it was not the case, and I've carried that. So it's just interesting. So, sidebar, not to talk about myself, but that was just interesting that really resonated. I was like, oh, yeah. Where does this come from?
Trauma. It's the micro
trauma.
And, for some people, it's, you go to a new role and, you're early in your career and you don't know what to expect. And all of a sudden, all these little things are picked at and you never really get into your stride, or you have a toxic boss. And you start getting messages and you kind of, one or two things happens. Either you start believing it's all you, it's all you can't get it right. You're wrong. You're incapable. Or you get the message that anybody in authority is dangerous. And whenever you're with people, superior to yourself, you've got to look out because they're going to want to tear you down or find, weaknesses in you, which again kind of feeds into you then feeling, oh gosh, I must have weaknesses, so therefore I can't be good enough. So you get a bit of a spiral going, and it doesn't matter which angle it comes from. You end up in that place where not only do you have the thoughts, but often, like you described, you end up feeling it. Your heart's racing, you're shaking, all these feelings. And you're like, why am I feeling like this? I'm a grown woman, I'm confident, I can ride a horse. Over really difficult stuff, And
yes, that's right. Yeah. Horses are easier than humans, so we've figured out.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So if you've got this, and I suppose it's somewhere in your life you have to recognize that this is happening, right? So, for us, for Marissa, it's a conversation like this that she's now thinking, okay, so what? Yeah.
Micro traumas.
Yep, micro traumas.
Can already stack some up.
Yep. But somehow you've got to recognize that this is happening to you. Once you've recognized that this is happening to you and your behaviors are not necessarily chosen behaviors, they're just happening out of habit or reaction or response or whatever it might be, what do you do? Like, how do you actually get that and, I don't know, control it? Is it just awareness?
I think it goes beyond awareness, doesn't it? I think, the stages to healing effectively. And, if you're traumatized, we need healing, right? And the first step is absolutely, as you said, is you've got to recognize it. If you don't recognize there's a problem, you can't work with it. So first of all, we recognize it, but recognizing it isn't enough on its own. Then we need to actually take ownership. So we recognize something, then we take ownership, and then we make that decision. And the decision is to start to address it. So once you decide you want to address it, you're actually kind of in some ways 9/10 of the way there, because you have that positive intention. And that's where you can then start to put things in place. And sometimes people can do things on their own. And those things they do on their own, enough to get them over the line, as it were. You probably find this if you're riding. There might be issues in your riding or with a certain horse. But, once you recognize the issue, you go, okay, is it me? Is it the horse? What might I be doing wrong? Right. And you start to analyze it. You can start to explore it, try new things, and you may come up with something on your own, and it works like a dream, and you can go down the pub and share it with everyone later over a glass of wine or whatever.
Yeah.
But other times,
Oriel's working through something at the moment like that. Yes, you're walking up.
Yes, I am. Yes.
We got a problem.
Yes, I am.
She's having some micro trauma with her horse leaving our paddock. And there's a lot of awareness that's going on with
it's
that.
Micro. It's pretty massive trauma.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. No. But my point on that is that you're going through this where you're recognizing there's a problem. You've got awareness on like how you're behaving in it, what's going on, and then you will work through it, because I think you're 9/10 of the way there, because you've now, even today, had awareness on, okay, what am I doing? What can I change? And that here's a new tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
To keep going.
See?
Yeah, you are.
I'm pulling the positives for you. I've got to keep a positive.
Yeah, well, I do go down a bit of a rabbit hole when it comes to that kind of stuff otherwise.
Keeping you out of the rabbit hole. You see what I'm doing, don't you?
Yeah, exactly what you're doing.
But no, it's you can put these ideas or this way of approaching things in so many different situations, couldn't you?
Definitely. And, for so many situations, we can work it out. We can pull ourselves out of it because, we can understand where it's coming from, and we can see quite clearly what the issue is. But there's other times where we just can't. We're like, why is it that every time somebody in authority, stops me, I go into this panic? And it's at those times, and it's probably, it'll be similar with your riding. There's points where you're like, okay, actually need to see somebody.
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
knows about
Need
this.
some help. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've got a number of people, and depending on what the thing is,
Yes.
you go and see that expert in that thing.
Yes.
And I think it's the same with trauma. There's a point where people go, okay, now what I need is
I need some
somebody who
help.
can actually support me in this thing. And that's
Yeah.
where people like me, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But many people, when they come to me, they've tried things. They really have. They don't come and say, well, I've done nothing at all. I've just lived with this and I've tried nothing, Fiona. We aren't like that as human beings, are we? We want to, if we can
get better,
resolve it, we want to do it.
So if you had someone, I mean, obviously not real examples, but if you had someone come to you, can you give us an example of a type of a problem and then the type of solution, like practical solution that you'd be sort of guiding someone towards?
Yes. Oh my goodness, problems are so diverse, aren't they? I get a lot around bullying and
Okay.
toxicity.
This is interesting. Yes.
Yeah, and narcissism, that beautiful word narcissism, where there's somebody in your life, and very often the experiences I hear are from childhood, where there's been a bullying parent, then maybe they went on and married effectively the parent in terms of, they married a narcissist, and on the way they quite possibly, and I know because I've done this, they might possibly have had a boss who was a narcissist.
Yes.
So they might come and they've got, a number of levels to their trauma, but with a theme around narcissism. And if you have a narcissistic boss, you have a toxic workplace, don't you? It's pretty hard to be
absolutely
a narcissist and not have that toxic environment, not be creating it in some way. Doesn't have to be a boss, could come from a coworker, could even come from a team member who's constantly throwing things back at you and making, giving you this sense that you're wrong in some way. So I do get people come to me, and some of them have actually been very confident, very capable for many years, leading teams beautifully, working as managers. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, they find that their courage isn't where it was. They've started to second guess themselves. They no longer trust their decision making. They're going back on decisions they made. They're procrastinating. They're not having those challenging conversations that they used to be okay having, and now they're completely avoiding them. And it's not uncommon that at some point in the preceding few years, they've had some sort of toxic workplace experience.
Yeah.
And that has left the micro trauma. And that's why all of a sudden they're like, I want my old self back.
Yes.
What's happened to the old me? I used to be, courageous and speak up for myself. And now I'm, a shell of the person I was.
Yes.
But that's the sort of client that I may see.
And what would you say to that person? How would you?
That's a good question. I said, well, I've got my magic wand and I'm going to
Here you go.
have this wand. And so what I found is that when people come to me at that point, they've usually tried things. They've listened to podcasts, which are fabulous. They've read some books. They've maybe seen, some people about it. And what they've been doing is they've been addressing things at the symptom level. So they might say, right, I'm struggling to give presentations. And so they focus purely on the presentation skills. It must be, I'll try and develop my skills in presenting, and then maybe I'll feel more confident. And that's a great thing to do. It's good to brush up those skills, isn't it?
Yes.
But for many people, it's not actually really the presenting that's the problem. It's something much deeper in the subconscious that's going on. So there's a belief, a thought pattern, something's happening deep below the surface. And what we really need to address is that thing. So if somebody just gets themselves so they can present, they go and join, Toastmasters or another wonderful organization, and they get the presentation skills up. So they might find, great, now I can present. But actually now I'm really struggling to have difficult conversations with people. Or, now I'm getting addicted to my phone. So some other problem will arise. And I call those problems symptoms. So when people come to me, they say, I have a problem. And in my head, I'm going, that is the symptom.
Yeah.
The real problem is deep in the unconscious.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people, often I find out actually there has been something traumatic. Some people can say exactly what it was. You've got your big traumas, you fall off the horse and you break your back. It's a big one. You remember it and you know what it is that's making you frightened of, repeating the thing that you were doing at the time.
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
easy to put your finger on. But if you've got a whole load of micro traumas, that's not so easy to put your finger on.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
So what I do is I work with that subconscious, the subconscious level, to try and undo whatever it is that's happening in the background there. Because when you unravel that, then all of a sudden, it isn't just that you can go to the meeting and present confidently, but all of a sudden, all these other things change for you. All these other problems, which of course we know are symptoms, they start to get resolved.
Yeah, it's I actually understand that. So in my early 20s, as a result, interestingly enough, of this boss, I suffered from really, really high levels of anxiety. And so, and debilitating. So it was like quite frequent panic attacks. It was like constantly like my body was on high alert. But what was interesting mostly about the anxiety was that it, first of all, was about essentially going to work and dealing with this person. But then it became going in a lift, and then it became flying, and then it became like all these other things that were in my mind completely unrelated. But what it was my brain had a pattern of, this is when I feel a little bit anxious about something, it then went to this extreme process. And once I fixed that anxiety and got that under control by a whole lot of CBT and
CBT for those?
cognitive behavioral therapy, and worked with a really, really, really great therapist at the time. Once I was able to unravel that and get a handle on stopping it before it went any further, it then stopped being an issue across all the things. And it was so interesting because it was just a pattern in my brain. It wasn't, I'm not scared of flying. I'm not scared of going in a lift. I'm not scared, to turn.
Small spaces.
No, but it was the fact that my brain was just on this pathway that had developed, and it was, so I actually, I can really relate to that idea of getting it sorted at that really core level, because it will then solve. It sounds really big to people, I think, if you haven't actually lived through that. It seems like a really big concept. Like, what do you mean you can solve all of my problems with one issue being resolved? But there's so much more to it, isn't there?
There is. So this is the big trouble I have with my clients. Where they come to me, it's like, well, we'll just do this big breakthrough session, and then in the days and the weeks and the months after the session, things will fall into place. And they're like, no, surely you need millions of sessions. I'm like, no, you really, and the message I get across to them is, no, you don't. Because it's like you said, if you've gone to somebody for fear of flying and they'd only address fear of flying, then those other things still would have been there, or something new, the new one. So each time, if somebody had addressed one of those things, a new one would have occurred, until you work at that much deeper level and you rewire the brain. So it's a great example you gave.
So from your perspective then, Fiona, is it not just, but is it, when I mean just, I mean, is it simply talking, or are there other things that people need to do? Like, I don't know what CBT actually is. I mean, is it just discussing things and having things sort of come up in your mind and go, oh, that happened, I didn't realize that was happening, or is there other therapies or other, what do people need to do, I suppose, is what I'm coming to, if they're sitting there going, okay, this is me, I do have these sort of issues.
I think see someone that specializes in fixing it, right? Because there's so many tactics to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And there's different approaches. So CBT is great. I do advanced conversational hypnosis, which is similar but different, if that makes sense. So we get the same sort of results in terms of what we're looking at is fixing, or sorting out the underlying thing, not addressing the symptom. So I think that's the most important thing, is if somebody's looking for support, if they go, say you went to a traditional hypnotherapist, traditionally they use scripts. So if you go and say, right, I need more confidence in meetings, for example, they would get out their confidence in meetings script, and then they would get you to close your eyes, and then they would read you that script, and they would try and force your subconscious to be confident in meeting. And it might work. You might come out confident in meetings. However, all these other things will start to happen. All the other problems will still be there. So I think it's important, if you're looking for somebody, first of all, make sure they're a good fit. Because you've got to be able to be completely open, 100% honest, and tell them things you've maybe never told anyone before, right? So if you've got a good fit, you can do that. You're in a safe space. You're not going to be judged. You can trust them.
Yes.
And then make sure that they're actually not just going to work with that surface symptom, but they're actually going to address much deeper, the deeper factors.
I think to also for people who are listening, I think when this particular therapist and I worked together, she was a psychologist. It was about a toolkit. So she was able to give me a toolkit for coping at the time with things, but also to diffuse. So, you know, one of the things was if you're having an anxiety attack, it was around what's the thought? Like you have to fossick for the thought of what's causing it. And so that even that stopping to think about why am I feeling this was a change in my brain pattern, just that first. But there was lots of different tools. And I think it's so what would work for me may not work for you. But that's what people are so good at, you know, like yourself are so good at doing to get into those things and what's going to actually make an impact in the brain, right?
Yeah. And I have a very particular approach to tools, because you're so right when you say what works for you won't work for the next person. And so I think we had to be really careful if we're therapists not to prescribe tools in the same way that, you know, you don't want to use a script. A tool can become like a script. It's like, here's my standard, standard tool for, you know, when this happens, do that. Now, sometimes these little things are kind of handy little tips and tricks. But if you can address what's really lying beneath the surface and sort that out, then you're not going to need any of the tools because the problem isn't going to be there.
That's right.
So I'm very careful with my clients not to try and give them tools. What I do though is I help them to find their own, because they will find things. Because you know what it's like if you say, when that happens, I could do this. And in fact, you know, when you're working with the horse, right, and you're working with the experience, you'll be finding little ways that work for you, and you found them, which is brilliant, because then you get the satisfaction of being the one to find them. And because you found them, they work really well in the context that you're in. Yes. And you're not going to forget them because you found them.
Yes.
Whereas if I gave you 15 different tools, maybe you remember one.
Yes. Yes.
That's right.
Don't get through all of them.
Shut the rest out.
Can I ask a question? In terms of these micro traumas, we obviously have young children, and you mentioned ADHD at the beginning, which, you know, both of us have an ADHD child. What are the signs that our kids are going through some micro traumas where, you know, we might be seeing some behaviors come out that we need to be addressing at their ages? Because I don't want to break them.
I don't want to break them either.
No.
But there is, you know, obviously with any kid, I think, not even ADHD.
That's right.
Like if they're doing something over and over again. I mean, what are the signs that they're going through something?
Okay, so first of all, I just have to say I'm not an ADHD child specialist. I'm not a psychologist or anything. I'm a child psychologist. I just want to frame that with, I'll talk to you with a mum.
Great.
I'll bring in some of the
you can talk to us as the broken adults that, you know, we don't want to have as our children grow into.
And, you know, I always say to my children, look, you know, any therapy you're going to need, you know, now or in the future, is all my fault, so I'm happy to pay for it, because you know, I know, right? Whatever it is, it's your parents' fault. So I think we have to accept that, you know, things will happen and we're not perfect. We can't be perfect parents. But having said that, I did actually address some of this in the talk that I gave. Actually, it has been recorded. I made it into a blog, and that will be live probably by the time this is published. So that's on my website. But
fabulous.
One of the things I talk about, and you can see the whole talk there, or just read a transcript if you're more of a reader, is how often in the case of ADHD, the let's just call them symptoms for an easy word. Symptoms of ADHD and symptoms of trauma can be very, very similar. Very similar.
Wow.
So therefore, if you have ADHD symptoms and you add on trauma, well, when you add more of something, you get a stronger looking symptom. So if your child, for example, used to be able to focus quite comfortably for 5 minutes and now they can do 1, or they used not to get worried by a certain level of noise, but now they get really, really triggered by that level of noise, whatever it is, because every child is different. But if there's something that you've noticed has become more exaggerated, then it may be that they're going through trauma. Now, as we know, sometimes it's that they're going through hormones.
Yes.
Right? Like having raised, you know, boys, I know that there were periods where, you know, my beautiful 5-year-old, and then I think, you know, my beautiful 7-year-old, and then probably around 14, right? They went from being the angel the child I loved so much to being the most horrific, evil. You know, like, and I was like, where's my baby gone?
Yeah,
He's gone forever. But he always came back. Phew. And it took a while. And reading people like Steve Biddulph and, you know, experts in these things to realize, hormones. So sometimes it's hormones, and we need to give allowance for the fact that, you know, not everything is because, oh my God, my child must be being traumatized. No, they're just growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you notice certain things that are exaggerated, they just seem worse, as it were, then those could be signs that there's something going on. And we know as parents, the best thing we can ever have with our children is an open line of communication.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the best thing we can ever do, because that way, if there is something at school that's worrying them or whatever, they're able to tell us.
To talk about it.
Yeah, and that's the best gift we can give them.
Yeah, you know, and for us, it's the car.
Yes.
The car, we have such good conversations in the car.
I like the car. And going down to feed the horses too. That's a nice little doddle. There's no one around, you know.
No one around. Well, in the car,
they're trapped.
They're trapped, but they, you know, they speak freely. Like, it's not hard to get either of them to speak in the car. They're just chatting away, you know.
It's good.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes people feel they can speak more easily when they're not looking you in the face, particularly kids.
Yes.
You know, if they're looking at the back of your head, it can be easier for them.
Yes.
Than if they're not.
Yeah.
So, because they don't see any reactions or anything. So, you know, they're probably going, oh my God. Oh,
do you know, it's so funny you say about reactions. I was having a conversation with my husband just 2 days ago, and he'll appreciate me relaying this publicly. It was about reactions. So he's a very over-the-top reactor over very small things, okay? So, you know, he stumps his toe, he drops something out of his hand. It's a oh my gosh, like this. And it's most of the time it's really comical. And we all laugh at him. And sorry. But he knows we're all laughing at him, and he's in a house full of girls, and, you know, he cops it. But I said to him, particularly with our youngest, she's the ADHD girl, and she feeds a lot of reactions. And I said to him, I think you need to start to think about your reactions to things, because she will associate your big reactions over little things with big reactions to things she's going to tell you, and she's not going to tell you because you're going to have a big reaction.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you're right. I haven't actually thought about that, because it's just so inherent in him to have big reactions. But I know she's like not going to go tell him something naughty's happened at school, because he's going to be like, oh my God, that's huge. So it's an interesting thing about what you're saying. Like, if they can't see your reactions in the car,
they can't see that.
helpful, you know, I'll tell him that, or he listens. So there you go. There's your tip, buddy. But you're right. The reactions are a huge part. Yeah. It's really funny.
It's interesting. When it comes to your clients, do you have a lot of clients that come to you with what you now know is microtrauma?
Yes.
Is it fairly common?
Yeah, it's really common, because people come to me with their problem like, oh, I've lost my confidence at work, I'm procrastinating, I'm second guessing, I've got all these goals, but I'm demotivated. You know, they come with all these kind of issues, and they're very big problems for them, you know. But when I start talking to them, it's amazing how many times we uncover something. Plenty of people have had challenging childhoods. It's very, very common. Not, you know, it doesn't have to be narcissism either. There can be all sorts of kind of issues and situations that arise from that. So yeah, many, many people. I work with a lot of people, for example, who weren't necessarily born in this country. And they may come from a different cultural background as well. And some of those cultural backgrounds can be very strict or restrictive. Or there can be a lot of expectations on you, and so that can also leave, you know, it's patterns on people as well.
And how much do you I don't want to say use your childhood as an excuse, but like, when do you let go? When do you let go of the things that you're holding onto without knowing you're holding onto them, and not use that as a crutch to go, oh, I'm just a narcissist because I had 50,000 micro traumas and just deal with me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, at what point do we let go?
And I think that's part of the accepting you have a problem and seeking help, isn't it? You know, acknowledging okay, I've got a problem, taking ownership of it. It's my problem. I need to address it. And then, you know, going and finding somebody to help you to do that. So when I work with people, my aim is that they leave feeling very empowered. They see things completely differently. So like just this week, you know, obviously I can't give you any details, but a lady said to me, oh my God, I'd never seen it like that before. Now I've got a new way of seeing it. And she said, oh, I feel really calm now in myself, you know. It's like,
and then do you see that? And do you see that as
Amazing.
the impact then being positive on others? Like, I mean, I'm sure sometimes you have the narcissist that you're working with. And so then is the change to then be positive, a positive change for people around them? Is there that sort of awareness that goes on?
Yeah, I mean, narcissism is an interesting one because I don't specifically work with narcissists. I think the only people who can work with them are psychiatrists and psychologists, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, like
it's not a problem you want to take on.
It isn't, and we won't go there. But if somebody, they're not going to come and say, I'm a narcissist, I want to stop being a narcissist. If they say that, they're probably not a narcissist.
Not a
narcissist. Somebody who's got into habits that they don't like. You know, like I noticed I don't like the way that I'm negative or the way that I'm speaking to people or the way that I'm upsetting people. But the fact that they are addressing it, if they're doing it in an open and honest way, not like I just need to do this because then I can get everyone to give me their money way or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But if it's genuinely yes, they're probably not a narcissist. So I don't really work with narcissists. I work with people who've had their lives affected by narcissism. And because of my background and having experienced, you know, in so many different little areas of life, I guess when they come to me, they're like, oh, she understands, you know, she can relate to this. She knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was interesting. I had a lovely conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who's just finishing up her thesis, her master's in change and behavior, the psychology of behavior, all of that. And she focused it on senior executives, senior female executives in the workplace who have had childhood trauma of some kind. And as you said, it could be any sort of trauma. It could be, you know, some kind of abuse or whatever it might be. And she found in her thesis that a lot of these senior executives were so driven because of what they'd experienced in their childhood and that need to please, and they'd never been able to please. They'd never been able to please their alcoholic father or their, you know, whatever a situation it might be. And that's why they're so driven as adults, because they're constantly trying to please and do better and better and better.
Fascinating.
It was absolutely fascinating. But
does
that ring true?
It's a huge thing. I see it so much. People pleasing and perfectionism.
Yes.
And they go together. People please are often perfectionists as well. And it's
Is that
true.
right?
Yeah. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense as well. How do you keep people happy? You get everything perfect.
So if you're talking to someone that has those issues, can you talk them out of being a people pleaser and a perfectionist? I mean, is that a really negative thing to be?
This is a very, very good question. Like I've had people come to me and say, you know, they come to me for something because they want to stop something. And by the end of coaching, they're like, actually, I'm really comfortable with this thing that I do. Yes. It doesn't really bother me. Yes. So my job is not to coach people in or out of anything. Yeah. Even if they say, coach me in or out of this thing, that is not my job. My job is to provide the space where they can explore things. They can see things from new angles they've never seen them from before. And then they can come to their own decisions about how they want to live their life and how they want to be. And at the same time, if there's a trauma that's triggering responses, to let go of that trigger, as it were, let go of the trauma so that nothing's triggered anymore. And therefore the way that they are being is the way that they want to be.
Yeah. So if you wanted to be a perfectionist in certain areas of life, but if it was debilitating you and creating this, you know, anxiety or whatever, then, you know, channeling that to the right areas. Is that sort of a take on it? Yeah.
Like if I'm in surgery and I've got a surgeon who's a perfectionist, I'm pretty happy with that, if I'm honest.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, just let's make sure we get the right leg cut off. I'm like,
that's important.
Go. Like, absolutely, right? Yeah. But when the surgeon goes home, if the fridge has to be ordered in a really specific way with everything is and everything, you know, and the dishwasher has to be absolute and everything like wow, that can become a real strain on the family if they're lucky enough to have one with that level of, you know, perfectionist. Or if they you know, they never complete something at home, for example, because it has to be perfect for it to be acceptable, then it ceases to become useful. So yeah, to aim for perfection in some areas, I think is a really valuable thing to do. You know, if you want to be really, really good on a horse, right? You're aiming to be the best you can possibly be, but at the same time, you kind of know you'll aim for perfection, but you also know you're never going to get there, right?
No, you
Never.
can't. Not in a horse.
No,
No,
never.
Can't, right? It's not. It's just not going to happen. That doesn't mean you can't aim for it. But at the same time, aiming for it, there needs to be that acceptance. This is what I'm going for because I want to, you know, get as good as I can be and have the best experience I can have. But also to be really happy with the experience that you do have.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very good point. That's a very good point. So, Oriel, we both need to be happy with the experience we had with our bucking broncos.
Yes, we do. Well.
Happy or okay with it, but it wasn't
happy with the fact we stayed on.
I was just going to say we perfectly sat them and didn't fall off. So
we didn't fall off. No, we didn't.
There you go. And you know, there's all the things you didn't do that you can celebrate, right?
Yeah, right.
If you think, what if that had happened, you know, 25 years ago? How would you have reacted?
Yes, very differently, or even a year ago. Yeah, even a year ago.
There you are, even a year ago. So if you think of how you reacted now to a year ago, then that was a good ride.
Yep. Perfect.
Well, I tell you what, I reckon, you know, as much as I hated turning 50, it's the only age that's ever bothered me. I've never bothered about getting old before I turn 50. Age is a wonderful thing. It really is, in terms of your knowledge and your power and your strength of personality and your understanding, all of those things, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not 50 yet, but yeah. You're painting.
To rub it in.
You're painting. No, I was thinking more like you're painting a pretty picture of it.
Yeah, but it is.
Yeah.
I can't wait for 110. Amazing.
110 is going to be amazing. I love it. Cryogenically frozen.
We might all get to 110 the way science is going at the moment. Anyway. Yeah.
We want to.
Fiona, you are amazing. We always love speaking to you. Thank you so much. You bring so much knowledge and therefore power and, you know, passion to our conversations, and we really appreciate it.
And just a really pragmatic way of explaining things, I think, is where I really enjoy your conversations. It all just makes sense all the time, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
thank you very much. Well, if anyone wants to know more about me, they can find me on my website, which is my name to make it easy, which is fionaspence.com.au, and the microtrauma talk will be on there. On one of the blog sections, so you can pick up that talk as well if you want to learn about that. And there's also a host of really fun quizzes. So if you've been affected by narcissism, you can take a quiz to find out how much is the narcissism impacting you, even if it was years ago.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting one.
Oh, okay. So you know what we're going to have to do, Fiona? You're going to have to come back.
Impact of narcissism.
The impact of I know so many people who've been impacted by narcissism. So I do think that would be a valuable insight to people who are listening. I really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another one.
We'll do another one. You're so fabulous to talk to. We'll be happy to. Thank you so much, Fiona. Amazing. It was lovely to see you.
Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners and our viewers once again.
Thank you for joining us.
We will get Fiona back to talk to us again, but in the meantime, we'll be back next week.
Great. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.